Alright, so today I will not be talking about anything that's drama related. And I know some of you just want a drama related video, but honestly, there's nothing worth responding to that's drama related. It's been pretty much the same thing with the Paul Brothers versus KSI and Comedy Shorts Gamers, just the same old thing as last week. But anyways, today I will be making a video on a consumer electronics store that's been out of business for nearly a decade now. So, the franchise I'm talking about is Circuit City. Now, I'm going to give an overview summary on what Circuit City was, and I'm going to explain why it's gone out of business, and I'm going to explain how it's coming back. And it will be coming back very soon, as a matter of fact, but I won't be telling you till the end of this video. Alright, so Circuit City was a store created in 1949, opened by a guy named Alan Wurtzel. He watched his business grow and thrive through many consumers walking in, walking out of the stores with refrigerators, microwaves, or any electronics. Like, they can even be video games. That kids could be walking out of the store with Nintendos or Ataris, something like that. It was a classic store that you could go to when you wanted to buy something that was electronic or that was an appliance. Now, it also had competition with Best Buy starting in the 1960s, but Best Buy didn't really catch up with Circuit City until the 90s. Circuit City was growing for many, many, many years, and then all of a sudden the decade comes, the start of the 2000s come, and that's when everything just starts to go downhill for Circuit City. And I will be explaining why Circuit City went out of business. And it's the very first reason. It's As a matter of fact, this just happened as the new millennium took place. Now in 2000, the new millennium, the Y2K buck, remember that? Well, many of you don't. You're probably like a teenager just like me, but anyways, when Circuit City Circuit City executives got together and they were trying to form a plan to save money, they said that they were going to take large appliances out of their stores so that they can save on the shipping fees and the warehouse fees. And it made no logical sense whatsoever because in the year prior, 1999, they had 1.6 billion dollars. They had a revenue of 1.6 billion dollars with appliances alone. And I already explained they did it to why they were doing that, why they were saving money. Shit, I screwed up there, but that's why I already explained why they were saving revenue, and in turn, they did a remake of their floors, they did it all across their stores across the nation, and it cost them $1.6 billion. It wasn't as you can see, that wasn't even a good idea whatsoever. Now, about a couple of years later, around 2002, or 2001, 2002, They made an exclusive deal with Sony to only sell PlayStation games, which was, this is my next reason. Yeah, if you didn't catch it, this was my next reason. Sorry, I forgot to mention, but like I said, in 2001 and 2002, they made an exclusive deal with Sony to only sell PlayStation games, and it made no sense whatsoever because I think every store is better off selling a wider variety of games, you know? Like they can be it would be just like saying that they would be only selling PlayStation games, Nintendo games, or Xbox games. It makes no sense when they can profit off of a a wider variety of collections of games, or they can profit from a wider variety of games from different companies. And in 2004, they did the same thing with Verizon Wireless, where they added kiosks in their in their stores, and they replaced every carrier with Verizon Wireless contracts. When it's the same thing, like you're better off with a wider variety of carriers. It's just like saying you're only selling AT&T carriers, Sprint carriers, or T-Mobile carriers. They limited themselves to less customers, to less products, and thus it created less profit and less customers. Now in 2005 is when they is their biggest downfall, I would have to say, and it was their biggest kink in the chain for many, many years. For the first 30 years that Circuit City was open, they had they didn't realize that they had plenty of space to work with in their stores. It wasn't being used, like the space that they had in their stores, it wasn't being used. It wasn't it wasn't used as a storage area, it wasn't used as a warehouse, it wasn't used for anything, but they were still paying for it. It's just like saying that they've got 100 houses with nothing in it. You only have them. And I thought it was a stupid decision because to sell the space that they had because they could have done something with it. Yes, they sold that space that they weren't using. I don't know why they did this, but maybe it's because they didn't want to spend any money on stuff that on a on spaces that they weren't using. The next point is that when Best Buy overtook Circuit City, they did absolutely nothing about it. They just reacted to it. They didn't attack. They just reacted. And then Circuit City was just trying to come up with innovative ideas and just try to come up with their own ways of doing better than Best Buy instead of just attacking it directly. And their innovative ideas were just going absolutely nowhere. They just kept making exclusive deals with other companies. They just kept selling space that they weren't utilizing. And they kept throwing away appliances that were useful to a lot of their customers. And just so you know, the appliances thing, they were. Did I already said that they were second to Sears in 2000? Well, I don't know, but that's a fact. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Um, in 2007, real estate manager, their real estate agent came out and said that they were going to open 200 to 300 more stores. And at this point, I don't know why they accepted to do this, but they did open some stores. They were primed and prepped, ready to be opened with employees just waiting, and then some of them did open, and then a couple of weeks later they closed for good. I can't even explain why this happened, but it was just poor management, poorly disciplined employees, just lazily managed, just and like I can there are people that are told to check out the front registers and nobody really cared. There were a lot of people that were slacking off, and there were a lot of people that were just just there for the fun of it, just to make money for their desires or whatever they wanted. And this around the same time they were squandering their workforce. They were firing thousands of people just to make up for money. And what surprised me even more was that when they fired these uh these people that were experienced with Circuit City, they replaced them with less experienced and more and less and they did not know anything about Circuit City. They had less knowledge about the company, and they were still young. They were still kids that were just trying to make money for whatever they wanted. I mean, some of them didn't really care about the company. Some of them actually cared about the company, but overall, there were just a lot of slackers after Circuit City fired their most experienced employees. And Circuit City, as we all know, went out of business and just it went out of business in 2009, and all the stores closed down in March of 2009, and the stores went out of business for good. You couldn't see them in public anymore. You couldn't see them anywhere on your street. Nowhere, nowhere. And the circuit cities that were still, I mean, the circuit cities that did go out of business, that did close, they're usually now Halloween stores. There could be different businesses inside the stores, or they could just be left empty, because a lot of them were in really bad locations, because it was much easier for you to get to a Sears or a Best Buy than it was to a Circuit City. And I'm really running low on time, and I will be making a part 2 to this video. So, anyways, I'm just gonna wrap up this conclusion. It was from the start to finish, it was just a lot of bad decisions on Circuit City's part. And Circuit City a, a was a place where anybody could go to just to shop, experience, explore, and it will always hold a special place in people's hearts. And it just ended the Circuit City dynasty. However, good news for the company, they were able to stay online as an online business, but in 2012 they were bought by Systemax for only $14 million. But anyways, Circuit City went out of business for good, and it was just